Oh, what a touching moment we have here.
The Kennedy Report, Chapter 4. Not much progress has been made since my last log. But that doesn't mean it wasn't eventful. There are more and more Karens with every step, and I can't help but feel like I'm getting closer and closer to the truth. Even though I lost Ashley along the way, I'll get her back. There's more to the story that she is not telling me, given her position. And in the process, I had even learned a little more about the Sephora from the manager. It seems the main thing everyone actually wanted was a sample of new experimental makeup with rapid transformational properties. And I had it within my grasp from the loving hand of Lewis. But we were overwhelmed by enemies from the previous areas that I just didn't have enough ammo to kill. And the only one who ended up dead was Lewis. After Lewis passed and the sample of the makeup was lost yet again, I re-encounter Ashley, who had been taken hostage briefly in our earlier travels. It seems that the Karens aren't smart enough to get past their own dogs or Sephora's playthings, and I was thankfully able to reach her first. But now she was on her own.
Well then, why don't you show me what a first-class script is like through your own actions?
I exited the room after that femboy saved me, and had to make my way back to him. Before long, I was face to face with several Karens, and my blood boiled. My repressed anger at the world's injustice had forced me to put so many words I didn't truly fight for in my social media bio. But these things, these Karens, I had the urge to burn them alive with the lamps in the room. I stopped myself, however, as something in me said it would be unforgivable. Like it was rule-breaking. Not the murder part. My religion taught me that no matter what I do to others, if I pray or say it's in the name of God, I would face no consequences and still go to heaven. I ran around the Karens still, who were unsurprisingly slow, given that they usually preach about exercise, but more so than they actually do it. After getting a really obvious close-up shot of my ass, I decided to call myself Shinji and crank that soldier boy. The way up is blocked, so I go into a dingy-ass basement, solve the easiest puzzle known to man, and find my way blocked by enemies. I knew I was more susceptible to being jumped at night, but, well, not by them. I quickly ran by them, but some static knights wanted me more than married men when I was on kick. After 2 really unnecessary panty shots that I swear didn't exist in previous versions, I failed the QTE for the first time ever, right at the end, and had to do the chase again. What I wouldn't do, what I wouldn't give to equip Ashley with a hand cannon. I actually have tried, side note, to equip Ashley with a hand cannon in the remake, and it doesn't work properly because she's not supposed to be able to hold guns, so she just kind of aims it brokenly. I reunite with the pretty boy. He's still of use to me. And he has a secret talk with that manager the Karens have imprisoned. Doesn't he realize how suspicious it is that a prisoner can have access to these secret talks so regularly? Well, as long as I get to enact my own plan. It was time to take Ashley forward. Now that I had her back, I can use her secret access to find real cosmetic power. It was at this point, in writing the script, I learned my most likely bootleg hard drive, corrupted a file that contained everything after Louise's death, to the point where you place the 2 grails into the royal's hands to move on. Yeah, fan-freaking-tastic. Here's a summary in case I don't go back and refilm it, which I didn't, like 6 months later. I took Ashley back to claim the free broken butterfly, but weirdly, it worked perfectly. And I allowed it to become the only other weapon I'm allowed to use in this game, since it was a magnum, with even less available ammo than the hand cannon. But with a catch. I had to fully upgrade it, and use the money that I would have put towards my current gun in it, since getting its exclusive upgrade wasn't allowed. I had a run-in with the manager, who said that rescuing him was a trap, and the ceiling started to drop down on us. He was able to get away and goaded us forward, but the door shut before we made it. So I resigned to waste ammo on the ceiling. Or did I? I have to go back and show you somehow. But knifing the lights on the ceiling before it kills you is very much possible, and I didn't even know it until now. I had never tried. Barely scraping by. Getting the grails is very uneventful, honestly, so it's good that I didn't lose anything really cool. That'll come later. And now it's time to place the grails. So this section is basically trial and error. I wanted to save ammo and line some collateral shots. It was pretty easy, but I was down to 2 bullets and knew I could do better. I retried it time and time after time after time until something spectacular happened. So, if you don't know, when an enemy grabs you from behind, you don't take damage. Granted, I don't know why you take damage from being grabbed from the front. You're not being hurt, but whatever. The Magnum is not a one-shot on some enemies unless it's in the head, but it's harder to get collateral hits with headshots. I was down to 2 damaged enemies, and I was grabbed from behind. And when freeing myself, the absolute Chad that is my elbow deleted the Karen's head and killed it. So I decided to try it with the armored one, and it worked like a charm. With 4 bullets to spare, I entered the next room with confidence. Very ill-fated confidence.
Follow me.
Approaching a hallway, I break some vases. And the only thing in there for me was 2 sets of handgun ammo. Ripe for the taking. What are the odds, right? So these have to be random drops, right? So I reloaded, intending to do so until I got handcannon ammo, since that is possible. Right? I sat there breaking the same vases, over and over, for 5 minutes, and never got anything other, not a single other drop, besides money or handgun ammo. And the other vases were guaranteed to contain a snake and a velvet blue. I just don't know anymore. Anyway, that wasn't the bad part. The bad part was conserving ammo here. Because it wasn't about power of the gun. It was about accuracy. I entered the hall of the ceiling egg, ready for anything. Well, Ashley wasn't. The animals tested on by Sephora were back, and angry at Ashley for her involvement in their torture. Without so much as a finger lifted from me, she was carried away, separating us once more. I thought I was going to have a good time, but the ferals here were angry at me too. I didn't want to kill them, so I ran. And I almost made it. In hindsight, I should have just healed and ran. It would have saved me 20 minutes. Running through would cost too many heals, so I decided that retreating and fighting would be better. a dozen attempts later. It was clear that my guns needed upgrades, so that I wasted less ammo. More attempts, and then I just used hand cannon ammo. Because if I used the Magnum too much, I'd waste it on enemies, and not the bridge chains. I conquered the room, and mentally gave up, but physically pressed on. It was bridge and tower time. I witnessed a large tower and bridge before being called by the manager. He asked me if I'd caught up to them, as the Karens were taking them away to perform a ritual on the two. I found them on my binoculars, but they were too far away. I had to catch up.
Shit.
I had a way to blaze across the bridge carefully, and didn't want to waste the ammo. Big mistake. I reloaded, and aimed carefully at the guys on the roof. Nailing one before the cutscene and one after prevents the wig rockets from being activated. I ran into the tower, and was too dead inside to see how painful it is to shoot sticks with a Magnum. I grabbed all the ammo around since I wouldn't want to grab it later, and turn on the power to the tower. Before seeing a cutscene I totally forgot existed, because of how quick I am to skip them. Which, it seems like Capcom forgot too, because the cutscene is a crisp, clear 280p straight from 2005. But that's not a biggie, it's just one unimportant cutscene. It's not like they refuse to upscale every cutscene from a separate game mode, right? Anyway, I run down the tower avoiding enemies, and decided to pop out for some fresh air. Just to save the checkpoint. Good thing I did, as apparently scythes are dangerous on necks, as they are on corn. I reload and jump down, ready for anything. Anything except inconsistent invincibility frames. This dynamite had me dead to rights, and it blew up in my face, just like I did to your mom. And it didn't leave a mark. I escaped as more Karens blew themselves up and checked to see if ammo was in the loot. Nope. I even got shot with a crossbow for good measure. On to a new bridge, I was chased by shield maidens. Here's the inconsistent frames, as when one clipped me with his knife, the second ball and chain struck me less than a second later, causing death. The second try was fine, I dodged them, and then when the rest showed up, I took a couple hits, but moved on anyway. Here's where I put the footage of the twin Carador fight. If I had it. Yeah, the hard drive crapped out here too, and I didn't realize until I trial and errored so much on this fight. I beat it. It wasn't hard, I was just trying to save ammo the whole time. This is a cool fight. I actually kind of enjoyed it, which makes it no surprise that the footage doesn't even exist. In the end, I fought them separately, only one shot needing to kill the unarmored one, and one shot from each gun to kill the second. I then realized there was no footage on my way out, and walked to the next save point, which was after the cutscene. Editor's note here, the footage you're seeing of the twin Carador fight is in fact from the trainer playthrough that I'm in the middle of doing to recap any lost footage that I accumulated along the way. And I gotta say, this version of the fight, as well as the trainer nightmare mode playthrough, really adds some tension to the game. Tension that I haven't felt since the first time I played it, way younger than I should have. That was back when getting my head cut off in the village was enough to scare me into not playing it for like several months. Funny story, actually. I had also played the PS2 Haunted Mansion video game, and there was a section where you meet the Phantom Bride, who was more recently featured in Disney's hit mobile game, Twisted Wonderland. And her introduction scared me into never ever playing that game again. But I was able to pick up Resident Evil 4 quite easily. Maybe that's because Resident Evil gave me a gun. I genuinely do not think the corridors were anywhere close to being a threat. But the little guys, the ones that distract you and grab you while you can get hit by everything else, they're the real MVPs of the Karens in this fight. With the hand cannon, you can temporarily stun corridors and then shoot it in the back. It's harder to do that with the regular enemies that can dodge and weave, which is insane to me. However, I did win the fight and I did move on, so enjoy. I was face to face with the manager, but he was acting different. Ashley was held captive and looked meek, as usual. But the manager was aggressive, whining like a child. He even mentioned the ritual? I had to get to the bottom of this. Literally. The manager called and was angry at me, even mentioning he had an evil right hand. And that's what ended up causing him to drop me in this pit. I questioned this disability, and he didn't object to my query, but was then cut off before continuing. The Vindugo fight is not hard by any means when you have two of the strongest weapons at once, but I didn't want to use the ammo and opted to run after getting through the timer. I clicked on the elevator and it said 4 minutes. 4 minutes was all I had to play with. So I decided, I'll stand here and wait. I won't pass go, I won't collect 200 pesetas. I was a genius. I didn't have to trigger the fight, and I can book it out. Except the Vindugo still spawns in after about 30 seconds. And worse, now the door hasn't been trying to unlock. I make some dodges and some quick shots, but it doesn't really hurt him. I'm wondering if the head is the only place it does actual damage, but it's hard to hit because of the aiming speed on console. I restart a couple of times trying to conserve ammo, and then I get an idea. I do have a rocket launcher after all, and I have allowed the free items to be used for something, right? So I wait for him to spawn, freeze him, and pop a rocket launcher at him, which instantly ends the fight. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why I thought I wouldn't kill him instantly. It's a rocket launcher, they're OP. Well, that 4-minute elevator suspiciously turns into right now, and shows up. What elevator takes 4 minutes anyway?